Well then, it'll be the only reason I answer, friend. No hate to this comment, do not go after them. Today we're going to look back to World War II Germany to draw parallels because I have a challenge for everyone at home. Please read Project 2025 in its entirety, and then come back and tell me if I am wrong. It's a lot to process, so make sure you let it marinate for a minute. Gotta connect the dots, and that's why I'm going to help you do it. Are you familiar with the term robber baron? It's been rebranded many ways, but back in World War II Germany, they called them industrialists. After the First World War, they were on economic hard times, but were experiencing a brief moment of prosperity. Workers were starting to unionize. That's where we get the National Socialist Party from during that time. My, has it changed. You know, it takes a lot of time to start a new party in government. It would take over a decade to get it into the houses of power to turn the wrenches that need to be turned. There is a shortcut, however. Look to what the Tea Party did in modern times. So these industrialists or robber barons put somebody into the National Socialist Party that happened to like to kick down. Yes, back then they only had radio, newspaper, and rallies, but today they have news conglomerates, marketing firms, armies of lawyers and politicians in their pockets, think tanks, and influence operations. I call it the parasitic playbook. Anyway, these industrialists inserted their parasite into the National Socialist Party, and that parasite would paint on a whole new medium, all of Germany. He gutted that party from the inside out and changed their opinion. He didn't announce it first like Project 2025 is doing, and it is the one thing that's going to protect us all if we act. You know, it's the oldest play in the book. If we don't like each other and we're agitated, when we bump into each other, they're going to pick your pocket. This time, however, we're not going to go about our day like nothing happened and the crime was committed. Today, I'm going to tell you that guy over there's picking your pocket. We're in this moment together, but not as enemies. You know what else is in Project 2025? Taking the reins of the #1 military might on the planet, increasing the military budget even more at the expense of just about everything, and using it, just like the painter did. There's a lot of money to be made at war. Do you know what would make these robber barons even more money? Creating a slave caste. It's cheap labor. Convenient that the painter was already kicking down at the Jews at the time. Why not throw in everything else we don't like? We can even add POWs. You know, when many people think about the concentration camps, they think about prison. Sorry, the US already has that. But were you aware they were using those concentration camps to contribute to the war effort that were making these industrialists a lot of money? Some of them even paid reparations after the fact. But hey, if there was a national identity behind it, Aryan, Christian nationalism, whatever you want to call it, well, that's just more people we can put into camps we disagree with. In this challenge, I'd like you to look at the first 180 days they talk about in Project 2025. Give it a few days, then go back, pull out a piece of paper, write down the names of how many people this is going to affect that you personally know, people in your circles. Then ask yourself if your rage is delusional. You still won't be done processing yet because it's a very large document. On the back of that paper, I want you to write down the amount of rights that will vanish for everyone. When you're done with that, go read the Constitution so you can go back and double check to see what real rights are, not what the influence op told you rights were. Realize we don't have time to argue. We need to focus on the parasite that's affecting this country before it becomes a shell of its former self. Come to your own conclusion without emotion. Don't let the influence of others affect you. I will happily wait in the meantime for all the responses to this. We need your response, not the response of your party, politicians, or anything else. World War II Germany forgot who they were. They got caught up in their feelings. Look how that turned out. It's what history says without being said, much like Project 2025. How often do I think of Rome? Let's look to something Marcus Aurelius said. We should not act when we are in the thralls of emotions. We are likely to make mistakes even when we are well-intentioned. I could name off all the scary things in that proposal, and I could make you angry with it too. But you, every one of you, you've been the victim of emotional manipulation before you could even vote. And let me remind you, the first thing we are taught in an emergency, remain calm. You know, in the infantry we had a saying, keep calm and return fire. No sir, I and many other veterans swore an oath to protect that Constitution. Your assignment's to tell me if we should or should not. Because if I'm delusional and all up in my feels, I need to know. Am I right about rights? No, sir, I do not feel attacked. And yet it feels like I'm under fire. Are we going to act like a good squad or a herd of kittens? Like usual. Ah-cha-cha-cha-cha.